I'm not, you know, having sort of a psychological breakdown or anything, but obviously there are flashbacks and there are memories and there are things that happen, you know, door slams, that sort of thing, that makes you a bit jumpy. And certainly when I'm on my own, if I think about it, you know, I can feel the adrenaline building up and you feel the heart going. If I had to explain it, it's sort of like when you've had a bad day at the office and you go home and you complain to people about how you had an argument at work or whatever, and you get through it. But obviously I've got 2.5 years of that. So, you know, I had a bad day at the office for 2.5 years effectively. So I've got that 2.5 years of bad day to get out of me. It will happen.
Describe the anger.
It basically revolves around events. People that I met, things that the militia did to me that I sometimes think, should I have done that? Should I have done this? Should I have said that? And you sort of, if you like, role play in your head how you were going to escape or, you know, going to overpower them or whatever and that sort of thing. And it really, you know, you can feel the heart beating and all the rest of it. But the advantage now is, of course, is that I can go for a walk, I can pace up and down the room, which, of course, I was never able to do that before.
Some of the things they did to you, although you don't describe it as torture, must have been mental torture. They held guns against your head. Tell me about that. Yeah,
sure. I mean, it was rough, you know. At the end of the day, you know, I was a hostage in Iraq, and yeah, you know, there's no rules about that. So, you know, I mean, the first time it happened, when they, you know, a police sergeant from the Ministry of Transport came in, I was with Animate Enemy, just took me out of the room, handcuffed me behind my back, blindfolded me, cocked a pistol, put it to my head, pulled the trigger, and at the same time fired a gun off behind my back. And yeah, you know, I mean, I was terrified, I was shaking. I mean, you know, in reality, I always thought I wouldn't be like that. I wanted to have this nice, calm image of walking the dog when that sort of thing happened, but in reality, it just went out of my head and I was completely terrified. Happened a number of times after that, though, but it was never as bad because, you know, once they've done it the once, it's lost the effect after that. Yeah.
One of the bodies still hasn't been recovered. Does that worry you still?
Yeah, the body of Animate Enemy, who was a guy I was with for nearly 4 months, has never been recovered. Laith El-Kasali again told me that his body was going to be released at the same time as me. Obviously that never happened. Now the official line from Iraq is they can't recover the body because of technical reasons. That could be a whole host of things. There's a number of theories about it. The body was buried in a militia-controlled area, but now they're not got control of that area, so they can't recover it. I don't believe that because these guys were police officers, so they could travel around Iraq quite easily. My personal belief is the body's been buried and has subsequently been built over. That's what I believe. But equally, there's other theories about how they buried the body and got the GPS reading wrong and have lost it or something like that.
Do you blame anybody?
I suppose I blame myself for going. Obviously, if I hadn't have gone, then I personally wouldn't have been taken hostage. You know, I think, again, with hindsight, when I look back, I have to take responsibility for going on that day. You know, it was my call, myself and the other guy. We said we was going to go that day, and obviously, as a result of that, those guards were there on that day. So basically, the buck stops with me.
So you blame yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I blame myself for going. I mean, with hindsight, if I hadn't gone to Iraq, hadn't have gone on that day, whatever, you know.
But when I say, do you blame yourself, do you regret going? Do you regret being in Iraq?
No, I don't regret it because I went there for good reasoning, and I genuinely believed I was going there to help the Iraqi government and specifically help train Iraqi government personnel. And I don't have any regrets over that at all. You know, it's such a difficult call. When I look back, there's so much we could have done, should have done, you know, things may have happened differently, but at the end of the day, we did what we did on the day that we did it, and that was the outcome. And, you know, no matter how much you look back at it, it's not going to change the situation it's in now. So.
What would you say to the parents and family of the for security guards?
I've actually met the family. Before I did anything with the media, I said that I would speak to the families before I do anything with the media. And I actually I met 3 of the families, and one of the families is not in the UK, and I spoke to them on a conference call. So there's many things that I've said to them. We had a number of discussions. Probably best to just leave it at that.
How do you stop from breaking down?
You know, I think in some ways the British stiff upper lip kind of kicks in. You know, I'm not going to let them get me down, sort of thing, is sometimes how I feel about it. You know, I got through this, and I don't want the militia to think that they've got to me in some way. You know, I think that's basically how I feel in my mind. I've got to be strong over this. You know, they've, if you like, lost me 2.5 years of my life. I don't want to lose any more as a result of this.
So they're not going to win?
They're not going to win in my mind. No, absolutely not. Not for me, anyway.